Hello Thistle fans, and welcome to another chat under lockdown with a former Firhill star. I'm absolutely delighted today to be joined by someone who's more than a bit down the road. It is Mr. John Buckley. John, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. As well as you can be under these circumstances. But I think certainly down this end, where I live in Doncaster, the weather's been a godsend for what's happened. It really has. But it's just been an unusual time in my life. But it is what it is. We've just got to kind of sit in until things are ready and we're ready to go.
We sure do. We sure do. Now you might be down in Doncaster, but there's a Scottish influence behind you. Nice touch of tapping there. You don't forget your roots, do you?
Oh yeah, I just make sure my kids and my wife knows that every day. One side of the room's tartan, I sit on that side every night.
Brilliant. So let's go back in time. Even before you got to Doncaster, you were playing for the Jags, but before you arrived at Firhill, where were you at? You obviously had ambitions of, there's the door shutting behind you. She's had enough.
I put a cup of tea on there. No, listen, it was one of them. When I left school, I got the opportunity. I had 2 or 3 clubs, and then Celtic came in for me. And I'd grown up as a Rangers fan, which was quite ironic. But as soon as I'd spoke to Billy McNeil, there was no other choice for me really. And I maintain that for coming down to England and play, I think I received my education in Scotland with Celtic and Partick Thistle. Just things that it taught me, and people that were, a lot of people that taught me great things. And really, I think it stood me in good stead for being down here.
Aye. So initially you were on loan with the club?
That's correct. I was doing all right at Celtic, and then they came in and said to me that there's an opportunity for me to go out, and play some division with real men and stuff like that. And I think I'd have been probably 18 at the time, and I was like that, aye. And as I say, a champion, Billy McNeil, he was good to me, and so were the other coaches there. They thought it was a good idea for me to go, and it was. As soon as I went out, I loved the kind of atmosphere of the place and stuff like that. It was good. I'd train on the evenings with Thistle, still going and train at Celtic, but I loved it really. I think I was there for a period of about 4 or 5 months. I can't remember the exact kind of timings of it, but it was really, really good. And towards the end of that, we'd spoke about me going back into Celtic, but then circumstances changed where Celtic were looking for something else that Partick had, with a wee bit more experience, Brian Whittaker. God rest his soul. And at the time, that's what they needed. And it took me some convincing to come, not because I didn't want to come to Partick Thistle, but I'd been full time, and I'd go into that kind of scenario. But after we did a couple of meetings and stuff like that, I decided that it probably was the best thing for me to do.
Yeah.
And just like I was saying beforehand, a wee bit of me regrets not just staying and trying to kind of, have a real pop. But I was, if I'm being honest, I was behind Davy Provan. And if I'm being honest, would I get in before him? Probably not. But I did just love the little chance to have a go at it.
One thing you did, the one opportunity you did get obviously was competitive first team football at Thistle, and it was Peter Cormack who was managing you at that time. How'd you get on with Peter?
Yeah, great. He was just a lad's lad. He loved all the things about. He was all for the players. Anything he could do for you, he would. And in terms of coaching and stuff like that, he was very, very. Certainly, when I was concerned, all that he wanted me to do was just express myself. He would say to me, "I don't really care if you lose the ball, as long as it's in decent areas, he said, but you'll be higher up the pitch, he said, and I don't have an issue at all with you not doing that. Just make sure you're always available to have it.
Yeah.
You know, and I championed him a lot, and I think towards the end of it, when he then got, again, it's football, but when he then get kind of kicked out, it hurt the players, because, as I say, he championed them and tried to do the right things by them.
Absolutely. Your freedom to play, I guess, that was a big part of your game, and we'll come to some comments from the fans in a minute, but it's clear that you made a very quick and good impression on them with the way you played your football.
Yeah, again, it's one of the things I just brought up to really enjoy playing football. And, you know, when I went to Celtic, you know, people think they've got a magic wand. It's the exact same as it was. All that they wanted you to do was be brave in possession of the ball. You know, there was never an issue about you doing the wrong thing, as long as you never done the wrong thing week in, week out. All that they wanted you to do is have a little learning curve, and I hope I do that as a coach now. That, you know, you can take mistakes with people, but, you know, if it's happening, you know, week after week after week, you have to find another device to try and. But that certainly was a great tool for me at both Celtic and Partick, just the invitation to go and enjoy the game.
Yeah. How do you reflect on that season? What do you remember of it? We're obviously, you know, trying to get back up to the top flight. How was it personally and for the team?
Yeah, I'll tell you, one of the things that murdered us, we were up there for quite a long spell, and then we had a really terrible run of injuries, and I mean a really terrible run, and it kind of murdered us a wee bit. And I mean, I'm just trying to think how much we missed out on going up by. I don't think it was much. We all, within the changing room, we all felt we were good enough to do it. But, you know, and again, it's just going back in a wee bit of time, you never had the resources, as in, you never had a million people, not a million, but you never had loads that were waiting to come in. And it's not that they weren't good enough, but there was a lot of kids there that maybe weren't just ready to come in. Whereas nowadays, you look at clubs, even in the lower division down here, they run with a squad. They've always got kind of plenty of backup, and I think that was probably the thing that murdered us a wee bit. It was one of the things where we all felt, you know, week in, week out, we were going to do it. But then in the end, just like I said to you, it was probably the scenario that we never had the strength and depth to be putting people in to help us over the line. I think we finished either second or third. As I say, I can't remember. I'm getting older now, but I follow Thistle every week. I've got a lot of people that follow me on Twitter, fans, and it's great. I mean, it's a different world now with how people can get in touch with you. It was my birthday the other day, and again, you wouldn't believe how many people contacted me for Celtic as well. You don't, people, it's how can I say it? I don't mean religion as in religion, but the passion in Scottish people is frightening in comparison to some of the kind of Scottish, the English teams. I think the further south you go, when you're outside the top division, they're just so nice, the supporters, you know, where it's different in Scotland, where they're at it all the time.
And that must be a lovely thing for you, best part of 40 years on, to almost have that relationship with the fans revived by social media, I guess.
Again, you've just said it, it's a great feeling. You don't, you know, I'm older now. I mean, I just turned 58 a couple of days ago, and it sounds stupid. I'm getting older, and I don't mean it's horrific, because I'm still all right, but you just wish. Everybody gets older, but you just wish you were back in the day. You don't realise when you're in it just how good it is.
Right, so 83, 84, I've got you down for 45 appearances, 5 goals. Thistle finished third, as you said, 5 points off second, which would have got us promotion. Morton won the league, Dumbarton were above us, 46 points. It looks like it was away form that hurt us a wee bit, quite steady at Firhill, but didn't pick up quite enough wins on the road. So I guess frustration for you in a sense, but you then got another move and started your life down south. How did that come about?
Again, that was when they'd done that with Peter. I'd just had enough, so I went in, and I knew there was 2 or 3 clubs interested, and then one of my mates that moved down here for Celtic, a lad called Jim Dobbin, he'd came to Donny, and he rang me and he says, Bucky, our gaffer Billy Bremner has said that they would come in for you in a minute, but he doesn't want to kind of put a bid in case you were. And I said, well, I'll talk to him, wee man. You know, and again, it's Billy Bremner. I was brought up watching him. He was fantastic for me. I came down here, and again, it was the first one I'd spoke to. I came down with my dad, and I made my mind up after about 10 minutes. Just a great wee guy, and just for all that he was. Never ever spoke about himself really, but he kind of made us feel, and bear in mind we were in this English second division, he made us think we were, although we weren't bad, we weren't up to his standard, but that's not what he went on about. He was wasn't a great coach, but just a brilliant motivator. You know, you would have kicked your own granny for him. He just had that mentality that made you want to do things. And so, yeah, I went there. I was there a couple of years. Absolutely loved it. And then just out the blue, Leeds came in for Billy Bremner. And obviously he left. He got in touch with me straight away and said, I'm going to come and buy you in the summer. So I ended up going over there to Leeds. That's probably, of all the clubs I've been at, the one that I don't think I got a chance at. I felt as if I was on the bench all the time, never. So again, it's one of them. As I say, I think I had about 18 months there. And again, it's probably my only downside where I felt as if I was a bit part rather than, I never ever felt as if he gave me a real chance over there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. What was Billy Bremner said he would make you kick your granny? I think he'd have kicked his own granny, wouldn't he? But, I mean, we've saw some at the weekend playing against Brazil at World Cup 74. I mean, I
realised
top player.
How good he was.
Yeah.
Until, as you say, I've seen that game against Brazil. They were the best players in the world. He never gave him a kick.
Yeah. And
I mean, he still trained when I came down. And again, I don't know visually if you can see this. If you've got the pitch, and he'd go and he'd a great little kind of, he'd do this like, all right, Bucky, and he looked a wee bit like Charlie Drake, and he used to go like that to me. He always picked me first in the 5-a-side, and he'd say, Bucky, you just go and stand on the left wing. So he'd pick the ball up, and he'd be facing the other way, and you'd have to see it to believe it about how he'd done it. And he would just hit a diagonal pass facing the other way, straight to your feet. And it was like, it was so funny because he could do it with both feet. Mm-hmm. And he could still tackle. And he was a nasty little git. But he just had great little traits where and again, be it right or be it wrong, it'll be interesting to see what people think. He said to me before I signed, he said, I'm not bringing you in here he says, I know you can't tackle. I know you perceive yourself as not being that brave. He said, that I perceive you being brave in receiving the ball and all that. He said, don't worry. He said, you'll stay in the half high up. He said, you won't be back here doing that. He said, I don't want you back. Just you stay high. We'll get the ball to you. And I was thinking, is he bullshitting me a little bit here? But he was true to his word. And they were a great bunch of players, but I could do what I wanted in the team. I just used to drift into areas they'd hit you with the ball, and I was always left one-on-one. And at that age, I was lightning, so I could go past people for fun. But it was a joy to play in, you know, because I never had any responsibility going the other way. If I lost the ball, just whatever. But all that he wanted you to do, when you got it, you had to deliver.
Yeah.
No, it was really probably one of the saddest days of my life when he died. So not great, mate, but it's what it is, isn't it?
Something else to have been. He wanted to take you with him to Leeds. I mean, that's something to have in your CV, isn't it?
Oh, it is. Listen, he when I spoke to him in later years, he kept saying to me, and I don't know if it'll make sense to your people that listen to it, he said, you don't understand the politics of how I had to get you in the team. His mentality was, he says, I couldn't afford to put you in the team and do what I done at Donny. He said, because we never, he thought he never had the clientele to deal with me not being able to do the other stuff. Which, as you get older and you coach, you think, well, fair enough. But as I say, we remain friends, and again, it is what it is. But you just move on, don't you?
Aye, so I mean, you had a bit of a journey down south, Doncaster, Leeds, short spells at Leicester, and back to Donny and loan, and then Rotherham for three seasons, playing a lot of football at Rotherham before you came back north.
Yeah, when I was at Leeds, I had a good spell at Leicester. And that was my argument with Bremner. I said, how can it be that a team for the top division are coming in for me and you don't? And he's went, they can afford to do what I can. And I mean, that Leicester team I played in, Ali Mauchline, Gary McAllister, Low England player, really good team. Alan Smith, they were a brilliant team. And as I say, I thought I'd done all right there, but I'm saying I thought I'd done all right. They sacked the manager when I was there, so I couldn't have done that well. Met a guy called Brian Hamilton, another good guy, but they sacked him, so it was a new regime coming in. So I went back to Leeds, and you know, you get on with it and just kind of move on to the next one. But my next step was Rotherham, and I loved Rotherham. Rotherham was a great club.
Yeah.
And we won. I think we won the league once. Won promote. We had a good team. I wasn't mad team. He was a brilliant coach. One of the managers, a guy called Billy McEwen. I thought he was a brilliant coach, but a poor man manager. You know, he used to speak to us as if we were like his child. You know, and you go, oh, for God's sake, I'm 27. You don't need to speak to me. You know, but in saying that, I think he was ahead of his time in terms of how he coached us. So that side of it was good, the good mentality. But just he would do things to you before a game that I'd never been challenged with. I know as a manager now, if it's me or a coach, I wouldn't be bringing things up that was, so say it was you, I wouldn't be bringing something up where you'd made a mistake and cost us. And he'd do that to me on a regular basis. And I'd done well for him, but he'd just go, that's what happens. And as I say, some of the other lads in the team would go, tell him to. But that was just his way. Yeah. So, again, it's no that I'm right and he's wrong, but it's the wrong way to motivate.
Yeah.
You know, if you watch the best ones in the world now, that Guardiola, there's no way in it, heaven and earth, he'll be doing that before a game to people. He may do it individually behind the scenes, but you don't do that. Yeah. But as I say, I don't really want to cane him too much because he was a great coach.
He was a good coach. And you can back up to Thistle. You won the 4th Division Championship with Rotherham 1989, back up to Thistle. Joined in October of the 90-91 season, and this is where you'll you'll hear a lot of comments from fans and a couple of games in particular in a moment. But 26 games, 5 goals. Again, good football, but just fell short of promotion. How did you? This was you came back up north fleetingly.
I was under John Lambie.
Yeah,
I loved him.
Aye,
what a guy. When I had to retire, I had to finish with a bad injury. Him and the chairman, I think it was, I don't know if it still is, a guy called Jim Oliver.
Yeah.
They came all the way down to England, came to one of my testimonial dinners. John Lambie was, and again, everybody that's played for him will know this. Don't get me wrong, he could be in that, but John Lambie was exactly as it says in the tin. You know, like if you never performed or you didn't do something, he would absolutely nail you to the wall. But see, as long as you were given everything, and just such a funny guy, he just couldn't help but. I tell you a great story. I don't know if it's ever been. I don't know whether I should bring it up because it's no fair on the lad. They used to pay some of the lads petrol money that came for afar. I think the lad was called Davy Robertson, if I'm not mistaken. And Jerry Collins.
Graham Robertson, was it?
Graham Robertson.
Aye.
So Jerry Collins had took him to the garage to fill his car up. Anyway, whatever it is, it's got to £25 or whatever. And I think he's about 15 pence short and it's clicking. So he can't get anywhere in. So Graham's like, just hang on a minute. So he's went in and he's bought himself a petrol can and they put the last 15 pence in. So Jerry's come back. And at that morning, we were having a chocolate morning. We were just playing five-a-sides and just doing some good fun banter and all that. And Jerry's come back and told John. So he came into the changing room and he went, "Oh, you get your trainers on. We're going running." And he absolutely slaughtered the lad for it. And it's just like, and we caned him as well. We said, "What are you doing? We'll give you 15 pence if it's that tough." You know, but Lambie was just, his mind had just exploded. You know, it's saying, what is going on? But when he exploded, he just, that was it.
Yeah.
But he was from the old school, but he was a good coach. He knew how to do things, and he never exploded all the time. I think that was, when I look at good coaches now, that was his secret. He would maybe do it 2 or 3 times a year where you're terrified of him. But he, as I say, just again really sad that he's passed away.
No, completely.
Because they've got a stand named after him, haven't they?
An absolute one-off, yeah. The John Lambie stand, the North stand behind the goals is where the boys make all the noise. So yeah, that was actually quite an occasion, because we ended up playing Hamilton Accies at home the first game after he passed, and obviously he'd been at Accies as well, so it was a pretty emotional day. And
I think I seen it on Twitter.
I managed to get the win. But let's get loads of comments from fans, as I said, from yesterday. Just I'll go through a few of them in no particular order. The one game that keeps coming up, I don't know if you remember, was a 5-1 win up at Kirkcaldy, Raith Rovers away. Apparently you ran riot. Ian Roger picking that one out. 2 goals against Falkirk at Firhill as well. Ian McAllister, cracking player for us. James McLaughlin scored a picture goal up at Raith. Top corner free kick from 25 yards. Free kick specialist.
I could hit them. Again, what happens with that is I was quite good on free kicks, but when you then move to teams, then people have specific ways of doing things. And there was only maybe 2 of the clubs that I was at, Partick was one of them, where they kind of gave me the licence to hit the free kicks. Me as a coach now, I take the 15s, 16s for Doncaster Rovers at the academy before they're coming in as scholars. So if you were asking me as a coach, I would always, unless it's maybe 10 yards or even 5 yards either side of the post and out, I would always play short. I like, unless you've got an absolute wizard on them, I just think that it's starting to kind of get to the stage now where the goalkeepers are getting better and stuff like that. But no, I remember some of the goals. That was probably one of my downsides. I wasn't. See, if I look back on my career, and as you get older, you're able to do it. Do you know what I was poor at? I was poor at getting in at the back post. When I knew think of myself, and I go, I could always create. That was never a problem. But when it's the opposite side, when I knew think back on it, I would always get caught the wrong side and not get in between people. So I'm quite big on teaching that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's no doubt you could finish, so it was just about getting in the right areas, wasn't it? There's a couple here. There's a Ian Park who says, "Pass on my regards to an old school friend."
Ian
Park.
Right.
I'm throwing a lot of names at you. Ronnie Lowry.
Oh, I remember Ronnie Lowry. Yeah, Ronnie. I do remember Ronnie Lowry. Aye.
Used to travel together from East Kilbride, he says.
That's right. Because the start of my journey before I went to Celtic, I was at Queen's Park.
Yeah.
And that was an education as well. A guy called Eddie Hunter, that was a great coach.
Yeah.
I was going to say nasty. I don't mean that word, but he was old school. But I can remember saying to my dad when I was a kid, I'd say, he's not. And my dad used to say to me, just take it in the chin. He's saying it for a reason. See, when they don't say it, that's when you get something to worry about.
Yeah.
But no, listen, when you hear people that kind of recognise you and you've known and that, it's a great feeling, especially as you get older, because you tend to think, well, your days are over. But even I do all the stats at Donny's home games on the radio. I still have people turning up with Thistle, Celtic, Leeds, and it amazes me how many people. It's a real interest for them that they keep tabs on everything.
Well, you do something that we all dream of. We all dream of pulling on the shirt, and you've done it. You've lived it. You've scored goals. You've played with more of our heroes. So it's once you played for one, it's once a Jag, always a Jag. I think that's what we say.
Definitely. I have probably all the clubs, but the clubs I look for straight away on a Saturday. It's always the Scottish ones. I'm always looking for. I'd say 3. I always look at Queen's Park as well. Yeah. But no, it's a great feeling to have played. And down here, you've loads of people saying, "Do you know wish you played now?" But it doesn't work like that. There's people that played years before me that got next to nothing for playing.
Yeah.
I ended up. I was quite careful with what I got, and I've not got loads, but I've done all right for what I got out of the game.
Yeah.
Because we weren't. I was never playing when Sky. The year I had to pack in, Sky came in the next year. So I think when I packed in '93, I don't mean only. I was earning about £580 a week. But if you go back to '93, it was quite a lot of money then.
Yeah.
And again, that second time when I come back to Partick Thistle, they had a great system. Because when I came back for Rotherham, I took a drop in wages, but they had a brilliant system that if you won, your bonus doubled, and it doubled, and then if you drew at home, it went back to the original. If you drew away from home, it stayed at what it was. But and I never ever think you play for money, but it does have an effect on you without realising it.
Yeah. It's all about margins, isn't it? If it adds 1 or 2%, that might just be it. So, just a few more, then we'll talk about your favourite teammates and stuff. So, there's one mention of a game down at Capello. Couple of men sent off, you scored and we won. I think this is back to your first spell. You've played that much football, you're not going to remember every game, are you?
I struggle to remember.
Just some really nice comments. Tommy Davidson mentioning the Buckley shuffle.
Aye.
Grant Bell, a masterclass in that 5-1 game at Starks Park. Stuart Deans, who Stuart helped set this one up, but saying that the reason you went back down south is you couldn't get rid of your house down there. Is that true?
Right. Well, I've got my two children that I'm my lad's 21 and my daughter's 28. My wife just told me. She's 28. But we were expecting my first child. Our first child. So we hadn't sold our house. And it wasn't an issue. We were living with my mum and dad. But, you know, and when I went in to see John Lambie, I don't know whether I should tell you this story. Is it all right to...
We can always edit it out.
All right, I'll tell you what, it's really funny. I went in to see him and I explained to him about the position today. We couldn't sell the house and that. And he point blank said no. So I kept nagging at him and then he shouted me in one day and he went, I'll let you go. He says, but I want what I paid for you. He said, so that's up to them to sort that out. So I kind of went, right, okay. And then I shouldn't have been doing it, but I then spoke to the other clubs. Then that gets sorted. But John had said to me, make sure you drop me a nice crate of whiskey off. So I bought him a great, went to the wholesalers, just trying to think what the mate was. I think back then I paid about 120 quid for loads of bottles of whiskey. And then I just turned up, just put it in his boot. And it's no like hang me, but he was great to me, John Lambie. And as I say, again, I don't think that would get anybody into trouble for doing that. But it's just what it is, you know. I probably wish, in a sense, that I'd maybe spent a wee bit longer. I think if the first time Peter Cormack had left, I'd have stayed.
Yeah.
You know, one of the things that I found out in my later years that killed me a wee bit, when Morris left and went to Watford, they tried to put me in that deal, Watford.
Is that right?
And I never, I mean, can you imagine in this day and age, I'd know about it straight away.
Yeah.
Boom. And just like say, Morris has achieved a lot, but within that team, I mean, he was a great player, but you just think to yourself, just little chances that you could have missed out on. But listen, it is what it is, isn't it?
Aye. Right, so that takes us on nicely to some of the best players that you played with.
God,
who would be the most talented at Firhill during your time with the club? I
thought Chick Charlie was a good player.
Aye.
That's second time, but going round to the first time, Morris was I always knew he'd score goals because he wasn't lazy, but Morris was lucky he had Davy Kenny playing next to him. Not Davy Kenny, he was assistant to Ali McCoist.
Oh, Kenny McDowell.
Kenny McDowell, sorry.
This is when me being born in 1978, that's my excuse. So
yeah, Kenny McDowell used to run the channels for him, and I don't. Kenny was a good player.
Yeah.
But Kenny Dunn, it was brilliant for me because I could just play it round corners and he'd feed me back in. But Morris had been taught, I think, at a young age, don't come outside that width of the box or up the pitch, because he had a great touch and everything. I don't mean, but he was going to be in the box, and I'd probably say he's as good as I've played with it when the ball goes in the box about hitting the target.
Aye.
That was his thing, wasn't it?
Aye. I remember I bumped into Ali McCoist, who's East Kilbride boy like yourself, and he said he reckons at one point Mo Johnson was in the top 5 strikers in the world when he hit his peak. He was that good.
Yeah, he was. It's quite interesting that, again, he lives in America, so it doesn't matter what I'm saying. As much as I think he was a great goal scorer, I never thought he was an out. I played with much better players.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was in Scotland at that time, the best player I'd seen was Charlie Nicholas.
Yeah.
Charlie was just on a different planet. we were like all kids at Celtic, and we had a great young setup, but Charlie just had concrete box. Nothing scared him, you know, to do when he get in the team and that. You just watch him and you think, God, you know, because you're going to be nervous, you're a kid, but he just seemed to have overcame that really at such a young age that he was as good as I'd seen. But Morris, the hardest thing to do in the game is to score goals, and as could Ali as well. That was Ali's secret. You know, playing a lot of selects with Ali when we were younger. So yeah, he's done all right for himself as well, hasn't he?
He's got a few bob. Another comment we got last night was from Mr. David Elliott.
Oh, the Davy Elliott, left winger.
David, when you came up the second time, David would have been. He was proper rapid.
Yeah, David was good.
I think he might have played in that Wraith Rovers game that the fans are talking about.
I've wrote a list of people that I played with that I thought were effective, and he's on it. The people I've put down here, I was looking at it earlier on. I've said, don't know if you won't remember a guy called Ian Jardine.
Aye, just about.
Ian was a brilliant player. It was great for me. He was a proper old school midfield player. You know, if you weren't at it, he'd be constantly nudging you, and then as your game came to you, he just knew when to tell you the right things. As Chick Charlie was a great player.
Yeah.
That's what's missing now. People like him in the game. You don't find many characters. Great left foot, and when I come back the second time, I had a nice little bus stop with him. Not bus stop, but an argument with him because he wasn't scared to tell you something.
Yeah.
But typical Lambie, he got us both in the next day, and just kind of sat down and said to his bed, "Come on, we'll just sit and have a beer." Lambie was clever. He's bright, you know. He wanted people to care about whether you won or lost. As I said, Maurice Johnson, the lad at Rangers, forgot his name again. What was it?
Kenny McDowell.
Kenny McDowell was a good player. Just try to think. Could you go through that team? Have you got a lineup of that team?
Hold on. Let me find something for you.
Was Jim Duffy there?
Aye.
Duff was, because I was at Celtic with Duff as well. Do you know what spoiled Jim Duffy's? Not spoiled it because he's been a great player and a great coach. Do you know what spoiled Jim Duffy's career? And I'd love, if I see him again, to see what he would say to me. Jim Duffy got an injury when he played with Celtic over in Italy. I'll never forget it as long as I live. It was probably one of the worst injuries I've ever seen on his knee. And it took him an eternity to come back for it. But again, Jim was a man at a young age. He could do loads of things that as kids, I think he's a year or two older than me, Duff. But he was a brilliant leader, great captain. He was a great player, Duff. He just never had any pace, but he had a quick mind. So, I'd probably say he's a cheaper version of Alan Hansen.
And what was it? I talk less about the players, but more about the training and the stadium at that point. I mean, Firhill wouldn't always have been an easy pitch to play on, was it?
No, wasn't it brilliant? I mean, there was towards the start of the season, it was good and that, but again, the pitch wasn't absolute dynamite. I mean, in this day and age, you don't often find pitches that are bad now. I don't know how good Firhill is at this minute. Is the pitch?
Right, I can tell you right at this present minute, it's immaculate. No, it's looked after very well now.
Yeah.
I think
my memories of Scotland, of the places I didn't want to play, was Hamilton Accies. That was just like playing up in your local park. It was horrific.
Yeah.
The ball used to bobble everywhere. The place I loved playing at Ayr United. Obviously, when I was with Celtic, you get used to playing on good pitches, but now, even down here, like I said to you, I work with 15, 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
You play on a fantastic. And I don't know if it's as good in Scotland. A lot of the academy football down here is played on AstroTurf.
Yeah, aye.
But no, it was okay without being outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
But if you used to get a run of home game, Tuesday game, Saturday game, by the time the Saturday came, it'd be all over the place.
Nah. I've got a team photo in front of me, so you've got the likes of Gary Peebles, Callum Campbell, Colin McGlashan, Gordon Ray,
Colin McGlashan, good little player, little stretcher, wasn't he? Aye.
Graham Robertson, Davy Elliott, Chick, Johnny Flood.
Yeah, John Flood.
Cammy Duncan in goals.
Wow.
Another one no longer with us, Jim Duffy, Brian Wright, Bobby Law, Brian Gallagher, Isaac English, Grant Tierney. So
I know Grant. Aye, God, there's names there. The one you met, Gary Peebles, was that the boy that was at Celtic, the left back?
No, that would have been Paul McLaughlin, was it?
Paul McLaughlin.
Did you play with Paul McLaughlin?
I played with Paul. Paul's a great kid.
He came in with Andy Murdoch
Yeah.
For a combined fee that is still Thistle's record signing.
Oh wow! Right. Yeah.
So,
I've got a brochure. I don't know where it is in the house, and it's in my testimonial brochure. It's a picture of the 5 years.
So happy memories anyway. Across 2 spells, you enjoyed yourself. You played good football twice.
Yeah.
The comments we've got from fans are,
No, it's a great feeling. There's a guy who keeps in touch with me a lot. A boy, is it Stu the Jag?
Nah, that's it. Yeah.
He kind of constantly. Then a lot of people have kind of linked on to that. But even a couple of times, I've got a couple of mates up the road that have been going to Thistle games with their boys' teams, and I've contacted Thistle. They've been brilliant. They've sorted tickets out. They're a good club.
Aye.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
That's me.
Oh, brilliant.
But you'll laugh at this picture. There it is. I don't know if you'll be able to see it.
Oh, aye.
And I put a little thing on Twitter saying, thank God I was the best looking out of these.
Happy days.
You've got to have a bit of banter, haven't you?
Brilliant.
What does Jim Duffy do now?
Jim Duffy's currently manager at Dumbarton.
Is he? Right.
And he still does a bit of media work locally as well. So he started as a manager, I think at age 29 or something. So he's been a manager for almost.
He'd done a bit down here at Chelsea for a bloody. I think it was.
That's right. He was coach under. Was it under Vialli?
Vialli.
Aye. So he's a nice guy, and what a player!
And it's one of them players sometimes say things. Sometimes you have to have played with somebody to understand how good they are. And, but no, I love my time at. I loved it up in Scotland with Thistle and Celtic. It's just getting older, innit? But
you might be the first interview we've done that we've got to use the bleeper. So
sorry.
All right.
Have I bleeped a few? Have I said?
No, you're only. I've not done Chick yet, so I'll just say that. So
he again. Don't need to say that. You don't get many people like him. But that is what it is, isn't it? But listen, I enjoyed it. And,
no, look, it's been fantastic speaking to you. It's nice to get the perspective of someone who was at the club in a completely different time from some of the ex-players we've spoken to over the last few weeks, and going by the memories of fans that were shared on Facebook, and then I've just relayed to you, there's so many positive memories. You just need to try and get that Wraith away game in your head, because it sounds like it was your finest hour in red and yellow.
The game I remember at Wraith was there was a fight in the tunnel, and I'd just won a penalty just before half time, and is it John Hughes that used to play with Celtic?
Right, okay.
And I bought the penalty. It wasn't a penalty, and I bought it, but I went down, and as I've rolled, I started kind of laughing at him, and he's wanting to absolutely knock 7 bells out of me. The big centre back that we had, Gordon Ray.
Yeah.
So we've just approaching half time. We went 1-up, and he's came for me in the tunnel. Oh God, it was mayhem. And like I managed to get out of it, but I always remember Chick wasn't playing. He was suspended. He jumped over and into it. You just think, oh my God, just different world.
Aye.
But, no, magic. Enjoyed talking to you.
Thanks. Likewise, John. I'll let you know when this goes up, and obviously you and your family look after yourself, and hope the rest of 2020's a much better experience for us all.
All right, it's that, Brian. See you in a bit,
Man. Thanks, John. Cheers.